Hello! This is HookedByHappenstance. I'm Kendra, and it is time for the January-February Shawl 1 wrap-up of Yarn Tales. For those of you that are unfamiliar, Yarn Tales is my ongoing series here at HookedByHappenstance where I read books, I tell you a bit about them, and then I apply silly Kendra rules to my star ranking of them, and I make a beautiful reading shawl. And this is the video where I'm going to show you the finished shawl, and I'm going to talk about it and give you some fun little stats about how January and February went for me reading-wise. So, when I started this whole Yarn Tales endeavor this year, I was really just looking to get myself to read more. And I had thought, I have a bunch of beautiful yarns I have been gifted from friends. I am going to put them together and make a shawl out of it and use my reading as, you know, a way to gamify it, because that is one thing that I tend to lean into when I need help making choices, is how can we make this fun and how can we make it kind of arbitrary, and then I find the design aspects in that. So I started making this shawl, and I was enjoying making this shawl based on the books I was reading, and I was enjoying it so much, and I was enjoying the books, that I just kept reading more and more and more and faster and faster. And so my thought that I was going to maybe read one book a month and get through like 12 to 15 books in 2019 was crushed, as I am averaging about 2 books a week at this point. So my shawl was getting really big really fast, and it hadn't even been blocked yet. So I decided that I would just do my shawl till the end of February, January, February's books, and then I would fasten this one off, weave in the ends, block it, and call it good, and I'd start in another one. So there will be, the next video will be the beginning of shawl number 2 of 2019 Yarn Tales here at HookedByHappenstance. So look forward to that. But this is the first 12 chapters in a shawl. I am really, really happy with how it turned out. It is lovely. It turned out bigger than I anticipated. It is huge. It did not seem as big till I blocked it, and when I blocked it, I went, oh boy, I'm glad I stopped when I did, because it's big, but not too big. So here is the front, as you can see. Then here is the back. I don't know that it's all gonna show because it's very hard to all fit on screen, but here, I shall take it off. We'll take a little peek how it looks now that all the ends are woven in. So, if you have not seen the process of making this shawl, what I did was I took 4 different yarns and I picked a topic for each one. So the yarn that you see up here in this first segment, that is from Dancing Leaf Farms on their Bebop base in the colorway Heathers. And this is the color that I used for books I experienced with my kids. Then here we have some cattails yarn, which Kat gifted to me, the dyer. And that is on the 7525 Superwash Silk base in the Berlin colorway. And that is Books from Life's Library, which is an online subscription service that I get a book from every 6 weeks. It also comes with some goodies and things, which I decorate my office with. Then we have this yarn right here, which is Reiwa Fibers. It's 100% Tibetan yak down in the color, let's see, I have it written down so I don't forget these things, in the color Summerberry. And it was beautiful. I just listened to so many audiobooks that I ran out of it. So then I had to switch. The rest of the audiobooks are in this color here, which is shepherd's wool in the color violet. Then the final section is for physical books, and that would be like this yarn here, which is Madeline Tosh 50/50 Merino Silk, or Silk Merino, in the colorway Flash Dance. And I just love how the colors played. I really, really like how the lace opened up when I blocked it. All I did to block it was I just put it in my salad spinner, actually. And I soaked it for, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. Then I spun and spun and spun all the water out. Rolled it in a couple of towels. And then I just left it on the floor in here overnight. And then I draped it over a chair the next day. But I am so happy. It turned out so good. So now let's talk a bit about stats, because I found this really interesting. I watched some booktubers who do this right the whole year, and that can be a little overwhelming, but I wanted to see, like, am I really reading that much? Because I felt like I was reading a lot, but I didn't really, I mean, I knew I was getting through the shawl fast, but I didn't really know what that meant. So, through the months of January and February 2019, I read 12 books total. 3 of them I read with my kids. 1 of them was from Life's Library. 6 of them were audiobooks, but if you include the ones with my kids and the other in Life's Library, then 9 of them were audiobooks. And 2 of the books were physical. If you include the Life's Library book, If You Come Softly, that I read, I actually had 3 physical books. Out of all 12 books, I had 1 book that I DNF'd. I decided not to finish. That was Jello Girls. So I did not include the time or the pages for that book, even though I made it 10 chapters out of 30 into the book. I just chose not to count any of those. So based on just adding up straight audiobook time, I listened to 74 hours, 4 minutes, and 41 seconds of audiobook. Now, I did not listen to most of it at 1 time speed. The majority of it I probably listened to at 2 times speed, though the things with my kids I tended to listen to somewhere between 1 and 1.5 speed. So, I don't know how many hours of audiobooking I actually ended up consuming. So in addition to audiobooks, I also read some physical books, and that totaled 928 physical book pages. Now, the audiobooks are kind of funny because it's hard to tell, like time-wise, how many pages is that? So I went through and I added up if I would have read the physical copies of the books, because basically an audiobook is just like somebody reading the book to me, and I would count reading a book aloud to my kids as us reading the book. So I think it all shakes out that way. I read the page equivalent of 3,395 pages between January and February. This does not include the part of Jello Girls that I read. It also does not include, we read a book called Birds in Literature, which is an audiobook only, so there was no physical page count that I could use. So I don't know how that all factored in. But that is a lot of pages. I also went through and figured out, based on all of my star ratings, I had an average rating of 3.5 stars across the 12 books that I read, which I think is pretty good. Especially weird, though, since I have been only using whole star ratings, no half stars. Because how do you put a half a stripe in a shawl? There's just no way. Plus, I think that there is some truth to the idea that if you feel like some rating does not deserve a whole star, well then it probably doesn't deserve any of it. I mean, if anything, you should just say, okay, so if you had 10 stars to choose from, then you can do the half stars. But I just think the 5 is easier and it works better for me, so I do 5 whole stars. And I've basically had most of my books fall somewhere between 3 and 4, which is a pretty good place to be hanging out at. But I give my shawl 5 stars. I'm very, very happy. I recommend it to everybody, because that's what 5 stars means. I recommend that you read books and then you make something to catalog them, because it is really satisfying, I am finding. So in case you've missed out on any of the Yarn Tales videos so far, go ahead and check out the playlist here on the channel. It includes all of them, and there'll be more coming because there's a whole nother shawl in progress. It's a bunch of the videos are actually already loaded here, so they are ready for you, and I'm ready to see what the next shawl looks like. The next video that comes out, we'll talk about the first book that I read in March, and it will walk you through all the yarns that are coming in the next shawl. So get excited. Subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any of those videos, because you know me, my videos pop up when they pop up. And I will see you all next time.